528 hertz sound on right now. And I am going to do the Trump press conference, which I was trying to do earlier. I had a whole live stream I was doing. And what happened was it was just everything. It just wasn't good enough. Is the truth. I have some cards from that. It wasn't good enough. I was on the wrong press conference. And let me check and see if I'm live on X right now. I'm live on YouTube right now. Let's see if I'm live. There I am. Okay. So I was on the wrong press conference. I was pulling cards for a couple of different things. So I'll recap that. I was pulling cards for just everything with Iran. I was pulling cards for Trump. I was pulling cards just kind of going with the energy. Now, this is astrology. I was talking about horary charts, which is spelled HORAHORARY, horary, which are like looking at the timing of like the snapshot of the sky right now. And so it's interesting. It's a case for astrology because he was going live when Uranus was on the midheaven, and he has his midheaven having a Uranus transit over it in Taurus. So Uranus, or the midheaven and Uranus, were on his midheaven, which I think is interesting. His midheaven is conjunct Algol, which is a fixed star of chaos in many ways. So I thought that was really funny. Also known as Medusa, which I think is, my hair was crazy. Like I could not get my hair right. And the reason why I thought I was going live for the press conference and I was getting everything ready. I had my YouTube open to listen, and then he was live and I was like, wait, did he go live early? Because normally when Trump holds a press conference, he's usually late. At least the ones I've watched, he's usually a couple minutes late. So I thought he was going live, and he was going live for the Republican Party. And then he went live, and I'm sure my tarot cards lined up. And after reading, sometimes I don't remember, certain things that I pull, but I did pull out some of the cards I pulled on my first attempt at going live. And I was talking about or discussing the fact that the only place you can get these plasma videos are on TikTok, and TikTok, as of late, has not been an easy app to use. And so if in order to look up journalists, independent journalists, you really have to search, but the orb videos, drone videos that are being seen are easier to find for me on TikTok. On X, they're hard to find. There's no timestamps on them. So you'll see like an orb video and you won't know when it was taken, or where it was taken. There's a lot of people that actually go live and show their interactions with plasma or orbs. So that's why I keep my TikTok, because there's a couple, I don't know which app to be on. Like I think all of them kind of are going through their own spiritual evolution right now. But from that video, I pulled out some cards that I pulled. One being Sovereign Cohesion, the Emperor, which I think this is in relation to a lot of different things. I think that's Lion energy, the Emperor energy, is in relationship to Donald Trump in many ways in his chart, but it's also in relationship to the fact that, we are going through this energy of things that are showing us our own sovereignty. And also there's so many planets entering the sign of Aries. I also am discussing, certain synchronicities that come with the fractals that happen in spirituality, astrology, numerology, human design, tarot cards, any modality, you're going to see patterns and synchronicities. So I also pulled the infinite light force, the sun, and the high priestess, and Neo Pioneers, Ace of Activations, which is the Ace of Swords, Crystalline Staircase, which is the Five of Cups, the activation card for the Four of Wands, a celebration, the Hermit, which came up yesterday. So I do think that part of what I want to follow this week is the alignment of Mars with the North Node. Especially, I discussed General McCasland and his chart, a general who has been missing from the Albuquerque, New Mexico area. I want to see if this kind of ties in somehow to everything that's going on. Again, this is a hypothesis, not a theory. Hypothesis. And the lineage card, lineage keepers, the cosmos, and the earth. And then the paladin of light codes, which I see as the year of the horse that we're in right now, which is like the Knight of Wands, which I made a very Knight of Wands mistake. I shouldn't have gone live earlier. I should have waited and trusted my intuition and come into this live stream more grounded. So I should have just watched the press conference and then entered the live stream, as opposed to being live during the press conference and then getting it incorrect because I was in a hurry. So this is the press conference. I'm on PBS. And this is Trump holds press conference to answer questions about Iran. So what I'm going to do is intuitively, you cannot hear this on YouTube, so I will kind of sit in reaction, but you can hear this on my ex. My ex is Christina Belich, Christina with a K, Belich, Belich. So if you do want to watch the press conference or hear it, it is about 36 minutes. And I will pull cards and I will talk through it. So there's going to be periods of silence on my YouTube.
We know all
Okay, so I'm going to stop here. And I pulled 2 cards kind of just for the, I guess, intentions of Trump, right? So looking at Trump's natal chart, and I have his natal chart open, and I've reviewed it on my lives, but I'm gonna re-review. He was born June 14th, 1946 at 10:54 a.m. in Jamaica, Queens. He is a Gemini sun, moon in Sagittarius, ascendant in Leo, his midheaven, which is his public point in many ways, which earlier when he was live, the midheaven in the sky was actually aligned with his midheaven. He also has Uranus transit over his midheaven, which is the planet of chaos and disruption. And so I find that, he's been going back and forth with this transit. But one of the things I just ask is, with his introductions discussing Iran, like what do we need to know going in? And coming at this, like when I recorded the first session, I did not go on TikTok. I did not listen to Iranian journalists. I did not kind of get an opinion after this press conference, but I've actually kind of gone into like the more structural form of journalism to just kind of hear people out in Iran and their reaction to his press conference. So I just asked my tarot cards, what do we need to know right now going into like what he's saying ultimately? And so I have action plan, the 2 of swords, or excuse me, the 2 of wands, the 2 of light codes, and the stone circle, Stonehenge. So right now, what I hear is this was a strategic like outcome based on the seasons. Interesting enough, he is going into his lunar return tomorrow. So when our moon returns to our birth moon, it happens about every 30 days. So we have what's called a lunar return. So, for example, our birthday is considered our solar return. And anytime a planet comes to the point of our birth planet, it's called a return. So, for example, every 28 to 30 years, we have our Saturn return. And every month, we have our lunar return. So I do think it's interesting. He is making this announcement heading into his lunar return. And lunar, the moon, is about our home. Yesterday, I was on live and I was discussing General McCaslin, and I was discussing how his disappearance chart really coincided with the moon. There's a lot of correlations with lunar energy, lunar transits. It seems that Trump really works with the moon when it comes to his strikes. So when he struck Iran, which I know later on in this press conference, he said it's inconclusive that, this missile or this tomahawk went to this school. And I do find it interesting that the moon was in Cancer on that day. And this also corresponds or correlates to the attacks on Venezuela, which were under a Cancer full moon. So I do wonder if he does follow lunar cycles, because we are also in the holy month of Ramadan. When I pulled this card, I saw Ramadan here for Stonehenge. I saw the idea that, there is something related to inner or understanding that possibly, and again, this is hypothesis, this is a tarot reading for entertainment purposes only, but possibly there are schedules based upon seasonal cycles. So I know that, this has been declared a holy war by the administration, but I do wonder if somebody is also utilizing very old school astrology here? That's just my question. Now let's go back into the conference. And YouTube, just to let you know, there's gonna be periods of silence. Mhm. Okay. Dues. Okay, I'm gonna stop here because I'm gonna probably pull for that. Okay. So while he was speaking, I pulled some cards just to kind of move the energy and kind of work with the energy here. One thing that really stuck out to me is yesterday I looked at this General McCaslin's chart and or no, his missing chart, meaning it was the timestamp that he went missing. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was the moon went over Jupiter in Cancer. So Jupiter's in Cancer right now. Jupiter's actually retrograde and will be going direct this week. And again, these are hypotheses, so please note, like, I'm going off of intuition, but if you follow back my Instagram, I've actually been shadow banned for many years for things that I was saying in 2020, and I kind of stepped back from doing live streams, things like that. But what I've found is over the years, I've seen like little glimmers of like, oh, no, just trust. Sometimes our intuition is stronger than what we can read in a book. So I'm going off of this as a hypothesis of I kind of see the disappearance of this general tied into Donald Trump's chart. And he just discusses lasers being used in war. And it has been concluded that there were observations of possible DEWs utilized in Venezuela. And that was under a Cancer full moon. So that was earlier this year. And it's interesting, when that full moon went down where I live, I've never seen an owl. When I lived out in Joshua Tree, California, for example, I've seen many owls. I had owls on the roof. I've had owls fly over me. I've had owls fly over cars, in so many different places. Even I was in, I think, Louisiana, and an owl swooped down. And I've just had a lot of experiences. So I've never seen them where I'm at right now. And before Venezuela was hit, there was an owl sitting either on the roof or tree near where I was sleeping. And I just kind of felt in my intuition or in my being that this was a warning, that the owl was sent to let me know or bring a message. And it was with that Cancer full moon. So my guess yesterday on my live from the 8th of March, from what I'm kind of hearing in this press conference, is that there is very much the utilization of these, could I say, plasma machines for weaponry. And maybe this general knew too much. One of the cards that stuck out to me was the Eight of Wands from yesterday, which is about messages received. And I was like, is this due to Three Eye Atlas? Is this about messages received from Three Eye Atlas? Like, is this something about codes, genetic codes? Is it all of the above? So when Trump was discussing this energy laser, I pulled direction and delegation, Sage of Light codes. And last night I was going to bed and I kept feeling arcs of energy. And I saw like something that looked like the St. Louis arc. And it's not the first time I've seen this. And I was out in a place called Wonder Valley, and it was pitch black at night. I had a lot of experiences. I stayed in this little cabin, and it had no running water or electricity. So at night, what I would do was bring in like solar lights and just light up the cabin, and then they would usually stay light throughout the night, and then I'd have to just put them back in the sun the next day. And one night I had this, what looked like somebody was shooting a laser into the cabin. And the odd part is during a meditation, I saw this purple arc across the country, and it was like purple, and it looked like the St. Louis arc. And that's what I see when I look at this card: direction and delegation, Sage of Light Codes. Now, this is the King of Wands. The King of Wands does represent fire signs, so we are heading into Aries season. We are still in watery Pisces season. But I do wonder, I pulled the star next to it and see the purple. I wonder if part of this is something about purple, like something like the sky turned purple, or something about watching for purple. Now, this is the Aquarian card, and we are in the age of Aquarius, and Pluto is in Aquarius. So we are seeing this age of technology right now. Generally a positive card, but in this particular case, I'm looking at this when he discussed lasers. So let's go back into the live. YouTube, you're going to have periods, and I'm not going to. It's so funny how people, he just has this way. I don't know if he believes what he says. I think he believes what he says. Mm. So I'm gonna look at Iran's natal chart really quick. One thing I asked is he telling the truth? And this is the King of Swords. So, yes, to him, I think he is, because what's next to it is the shadow clearing. And the shadow clearing is about almost like there's bringing things to the surface. So then I looked at Trump's Mercury because he is a Gemini sun. So Gemini sun is ruled by the planet Mercury, and his Mercury is in the 11th house of Cancer, or his 11th house is Cancer, and his Mercury is in Cancer. So in many ways, like he does have an element of like paternalist energy. And by the way, I'm looking at this like as neutral as possible. So then I'm looking over at Iran's natal chart, and this is like based off of the April 1st, 1979 Islamic Republic of Iran chart. And I also want to acknowledge that there are several charts for Iran, but this is the chart I'm looking at. So Trump has his moon on Iran's ascendant and Neptune. So Trump is a lunar eclipse chart. And so his lunar eclipse, and again, this is the theme of the moon. His lunar eclipse actually goes over Iran's ascendant. And the south node, Trump's south node, is on the ascendant of Iran's current working chart, which puts his sun, so he has his sun, his Uranus, and his north node on Iran's descendant. So if I were to see this in like a synastry chart, for example, I would say this is karma being played out in the public because the ascendant and the 10th house, or something I would refer to as the midheaven, are the public areas of the chart. So it's very interesting that it's almost like, yes, this sucks. Astrologically, it aligns. Astrologically, there's synchronicity here. And so I want to look at Iran's moon because I'm looking at the lunar connections. Trump's Mercury is ruled by the moon. Cancer is Cancer's home is the moon. So Trump is actually very tied into the moon when it comes to things that he says. And he's going into a lunar return tomorrow on the 10th. So it's interesting that Trump has his midheaven on the moon of Iran. So when you see a moon midheaven conjunction in synastry, the person with the moon can actually feel really vulnerable because it's like the deepest parts here. And so it's interesting that he went into the press conference with the midheaven orrery on this point of the moon. It's almost like he's mocking the lunar calendar in many or lunar cycles in certain ways. Or if he doesn't have an astrologer, then that's synchronicity in many ways. The other thing is Iran has Jupiter in Cancer, and we'll have a Jupiter return as we go forward through this year. The other thing that Iran is going to be going through is a Mars return, and Mars is in Pisces right now. So as we go through the month of March and into April, we're going to have a Mars return in Iran's chart, and also just had, wow, it's having a lot of returns here. Iran is going to be going through a solar return, has gone through a Venus return, and will be going through a Mars return. And we'll have Mercury over Iran's Mercury in Pisces. Wow, very active chart right now. So the other thing is, like, we've got to watch Mars through Pisces, because I have a feeling that Mars through Pisces is going to bring us a lot more war than we even realized. And so this week, when we have this North Node this Mars North Node conjunction, I'm very interested to see. So let's go back to this press conference. I'm about halfway through. I'm gonna put these back in that I pulled. This is about Putin, the Hermit. There's something about maintaining power. When it comes and incoming about Cuba, Eight of Wands, Justice, is the next question, whatever the next question is. It's like, well, you capture. So that's your 5 5 of swords for the school that got struck, and 3 of light codes. So let me just unpack that for a moment. So the tomahawk missile that hit that the girls' school, I have the 5 of wands, which is it says neutralize the charge, and then the forward motion 3 of wands. So it's like flattening something out so that things could move forward. I do think it was the US based on these cards. The sun, the high priestess, activation. So there's something very spiritual here, very spiritual. YouTube, you have to go to my ex to hear the full audio. I think this is on Ron's behalf, meaning like there's something more to this war that we are not privy to quite yet. It's for the next question. Oil prices, the tower, the tower, let's see, the 9 of cups. Huh. Wonder if it's gonna be something near oil that makes a little bit of a hello. I don't think this is just about oil. Let me just pull one more card. Prowess. Card keeps coming through. Save America Act for voting. Eighth, Eight of Pentacles, and the Meadow, the Ace of Earth Guardians. I'm just asking, what is the outcome? Save America Act, Ace of Cups. There's a new begin. There's two aces here. There's new beginnings. So I wonder if there's going to be opening, because Eight of Pentacles is structural starts or taking structure. Gemini season. I'm going to have to see, but this card is about relationships and connections. Feel like a new way of being. So, harmony and adversity, autonomous initiator. So it feels like there's a yes here. Paladin of Light codes, the year of the horse, the Knight of Wands energy. There's a lot of wands. Interesting. The Wheel of Fortune. There's something related to astrology here too. What? The new leader of Iran. Seven of Wands. They see him as a competition. Something about mother codes, and this also goes with like the State of America Act, mother codes, return of the mother tree. The Empress. Something about the North Node and South Node, and I think we're going to have to see it leave the sign of Pisces. and Virgo went into Aquarius and Leo. He's does he know Paladin of Swords? Does he know Paladin of Portals? There are people that know these are knights. They're not kings, they're knights. Two masculine energies new. Maybe like delegates. Stargate. This could be and geometric coherence. Something bringing the world together here. Peace of some sort being brought to the doesn't it sound like little kids? If I didn't hit him, he's gonna hit me. If I didn't hit him, he's gonna hit me first. Look at these portals. Stargates, portals. We look at first. Is there a disagreement? They are aligned. That is something they are aligned. YouTube, go to X if you want full audio. Collective awakening. Something about how energy is used overall as an outcome. I pulled the Seven of Wands from this earlier, but there's Root, Ten of Cups, and Eight of Cups. Ten of Cups is about family. It's about family, something about family. He does wanna help. He does see himself as kind of a God figure here. That Leo rising, this is about helping people, but at the same time, it's like codependent help, so it's will help. 5 of Pentacles, the microcosm, and Temperance. You gotta really see how this plays out because we're only seeing a small amount and be patient with that because there's more to surface. Okay, so that was the Trump press conference about Iran. And if you are on YouTube, I am keeping this unedited. So there are going to be large periods of silence. But I did pull cards throughout this in conjunction with press questions and kind of little pockets of time where I just kind of stopped the video. One of the things that really surprised me with the cards about the Save America Act is the cards are actually very positive. So it could be that there's positive outcomes as a result. But I'm just going with the card because there were 2 aces. So it's going to be in conjunction with a new beginning or a new system of voting in some sort of way. So it could be like a trial system. So I'm just going to pull as to like, what does that mean? Collective awakening. So there might be something in the process of voting that comes to the surface in the next few years that either changes how we vote altogether, or it might not even just be with that act, because I know there's a lot of controversy around that. So I just wanted to kind of get a clarifier on that. And then any further clarifiers on this press conference today. Again, logic and structure comes through, which is the King of Swords, which is about air sign energy. I do also feel like Pluto in Aquarius is part of this, like a new way of awakening. The Meadow, the Ace of Guardians. So there is a new beginning on the way in general. So it might be even governmental structure. The Lovers, which is loving compassion, which is related to the sign of Gemini, which I saw in the Robert Monroe Institute video in the Star Nursery, that there is like this cosmic, almost like cosmic whales that I discussed yesterday. And it's almost like we have guardians on the outside watching us. It's almost like when he was like, if he didn't hit me, I would hit him. It's kind of like we're like the little kids and like these guardians are watching us. And then any final cards for today's live stream. Celebration. There's a lot of positivity here. It's almost like, yes, this is like the really hard shadow clearing period in order for us to step into like the light. So with that, I want to just say thank you so much. I was on live earlier. It was not fun. It was not pretty, but I'm back. I don't know if I will go live tomorrow because normally on Tuesday I go live with the Washington County Board of Commissioners hearing in Hagerstown, Maryland, but they're not going live tomorrow. So I'm not sure if I'll be live, but I will let y'all know when I go live. Again, if you have any questions, please contact me in my show notes. And if you have any topics or charts that you want me to explore, just let me know. Thank you so much and have a good night. Bye. Goodbye.